cool. So we'll start very soon. Okay. So good day, everyone. Good day, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Microsoft Excel section brought to you by your BizEdge. So for today's session, we're having the changing machine learning landscape, which is being presented by Chizurum, our special guest for today. So Microsoft Excel financial modeling, business intelligence, data analysis, and enterprise solution firm in Nigeria. We also specialize in helping companies and high-value professionals be on top of the business data. We're also the developer of some data analytics tools, such as the Nigerian Finance Market Analysis tool, which you can find on Microsoft Office Store and other Microsoft stores. We're also the developer of the Nigerian Stock Analysis Dashboard and so many other platforms we also have under us. As you all know, we're also a training company in Lagos, Nigeria. We also have branches in Port Harcourt and Abuja. So this is our calendar for our upcoming training. So on the 13th of September, which is on a Tuesday, we'll be having Python for data analysis. Also, that same 13th of September, we're having in-depth Excel training, executive dashboard, and business data analysis. On the 23rd of September, we're having in-depth, same topic again, in-depth Excel training, executive dashboard, and business data analysis. We also offer training in both Excel, SQL, financial modeling, and Power BI. So I'll just give a brief description about our special guest, Chizurum, who is also a human and artificial intelligence scientist. Okay, so he's a detail-oriented data scientist rather, with experience in utilizing business intelligence strategy and operational knowledge to deliver predictive models and implementing data pipeline for IT startups and other data-driven corporations. A proven record of analyzing large amounts of data to generate actionable insights, develop risk management approach and new products, and also solve diverse business needs. He has also demonstrated excellence in understanding of computer fundamental, data structure, frameworks, algorithm, general machine learning, web scraping, and also large data mining with industrial standard software and procedure. So no further ado, I will stop sharing my screen and hand over the section to our special guest. So I'll stop sharing my screen right about now, and I will also upload another slide. Just give me a minute. Okay. It's coming up very soon. Okay, awesome. So I'll upload this. So Chizu, I will try share my screen again. Hope you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. So I will share my screen again. Okay, so tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Timmy. So my name is Chizurum Olorondu. I'm very happy to be a part of this session today. Thanks. My huge thanks goes out to the organizers and sponsors of the program. So a short added description about me. I currently work as a freelancer, working on freelance data science, working on various machine learning projects right now. I was also previously a data scientist at Fidelity Bank, um, and I have been programming since for over 3 years, and I have 2 years plus experience in the field of data science. So back to like the topic at hand, I'm here to discuss the changing machine learning landscape, or to be more accurate, the changing AI landscape. Um, and I hope I could impact some knowledge and maybe provide value to anyone listening to this program. Yeah, so the order of business would be discussing the broader AI ecosystem to understand the landscape as a whole. We'll also be looking at the landscape timelines um, and identify the demands and emerging job roles within each timeline. We'll look at current requirements and tools. We'll also look at new sectors and how Nigeria has been affected as well by these changes in the landscape. Okay, so AI has actually been coined out of a large number of disciplines, some of which includes computer science, psychology, neuron neuroscience, biology. If you look at neural networks, they are modeled after the way the neurons in our brain fire anytime we're performing various activities in line with the various activities we perform, whether it's leads with object identification or sight, taste, or wherever. So those networks were modeled after the human mind per se. It also consists of philosophy, a lot of maths, sociology as well. And AI is part of like a broader ecosystem, which also include data science and data engineering as well. Data engineering being more of the software engineering angle, while data science being more tilted towards machine learning as well. But they all have like a common intersection in terms of data and data management, data storage, data wrangling, and the likes. So this in like a short description is the broad sense of the AI ecosystem. Okay, so in this current day and age, we are currently in the fourth industrial revolution, and this fourth revolution hugely depends on digital automated complex tasks, and AI is actually happens to be at the center of this revolution. So we are seeing a whole lot of stuff being automated. We're seeing the rise of smart homes, smart technology. We're seeing AI predictive technologies being used in minute details such as like email text predictions in when you're trying to send out email, to fraud detection in financial institutions, and a wide range of applications, including industries previously not thought of, like the medical sectors, um, B2B, retail, storage, transportation. There's a whole lot of aspects that's opened up because since the evolution of AI essentially. And looking at the trend in all the industrial revolutions we've actually experienced, with the mechanical revolution, which was mainly marked by the invention of the steam engine, the electrical revolution, which was the second industrial revolution, which showed mostly the invention of the assembly line, as well as the electricity, the diversification of electricity throughout the world, and then we saw the invention of the internet in the industrial revolution, which hugely impacts both our culture and our way of life as well. So this is just basically trying to give more um, understanding of the AI workplace and the AI landscape as well for people not familiar. So we'll be looking at four different timelines because I hugely believe that to understand where you are, you have to be able to look back. And looking back and knowing where you are tells you, gives you a good idea of what the future might likely be. So we're going to consider all timelines, both in the past, as far back as 1990s, the 90s, the early 2000s, and as well as the present, and we'll also be making some future predictions of the directions the AI landscape would most likely morph into. Okay, so looking at the 90s, we saw the invention of the internet as well as the release of the first web browser and editor in the early 90s in 1993. We also saw, sorry, can you go back, Tim?
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So we also saw the rollout of fiber optic cables, which basically began the emergence of the field of data science and AI as a whole. Usually, data we're not able to transport large amount of data very quickly. So transportation was a very big issue, moving data from place to place. Most things were usually done um, on sites. Most things were actually still done on sites back then, but then the capability of transferring data from one point to another efficiently and also very, very fast and secure um, came out with the invention of with the rollout of fiber optic cables. We also saw some of the world's biggest tech players come into existence. Microsoft Research um, came into existence in 1991. NVIDIA was also um, founded in 1993, and today they are the world's largest GPU manufacturer. We also saw Yahoo and Amazon come into play in 1994. eBay, Netflix, and Google also came in the 90s as well. And then, importantly, we also saw the release of the first versions of Python programming languages as well as R, which are the two dominant languages at the moment for um, building machine learning, building AI software today. So they came out, Python came out in 1991 and R in 1993. And then we started seeing some early releases of libraries like NumPy, like one of the most popular Python libraries, which forms the basics of most modern machine learning frameworks as well. So we saw the release of open source database management system in 1995, MySQL and PostgreSQL, which was released in 1997. And this kind of like began the tying together of the ecosystem because we had now had like a means of transporting data. We had a means we had like a regular supply of data, like means where data were being generated by companies like eBay, Yahoo, Google as well. So there was a lot of data starting to be generated. There was a means of transport, and then there were efficient inventions that were being pushed out to the general public towards database management like MySQL and PostgreSQL. And also, NVIDIA released the very first GPU for personal computers. So if you are aware of GPUs, they are basically an external graphics or external dedicated graphics hardware that comes in not all but some computers. They were a bit expensive back then, but right now they come in a whole lot of ranges that can be very affordable for the mass public. And the essence of GPU marked the remarkable increase in AI developments because mostly a whole lot of the algorithms we use today have been available for years back, like far back as 1980s. But one major deterrent towards their evolution or towards their integration into society was a means of actually efficiently developing these AI systems and AI softwares. So, but with the release of GPUs, it became possible because GPUs can run very, very intensive computations that can take a CPU days to complete in a matter of hours or sometimes minutes, depending on the strength of the GPU. So this kind of marks the beginning of the AI system, ecosystem, and the AI landscape coming into place and coming into everything was clicking together. And then computer engineers, analysts, and quants were the hot jobs of that era. So those were some of the jobs in the data space that were in very much hot demand. Um, Computer engineers, analysts, quants, they basically were the ones working in the big corporations, the banks, the financial institutions, which were the ones that were actually trying to do a couple of things with their data at that time. Next page. Yeah. So the next period we are looking at is the early 2000s, and that period saw a ramping up of change in the AI ecosystem as well as landscape. So we saw accelerating storage technology and data access speed emerging. So the means of storing data, we saw the inventions of hardware that were smaller, more compact, as well as faster in terms of data writing and retrieval. We saw hard disks replace the floppy disks, which was very, very much efficient and as well as smaller as well. And it also had like an increase in the storage capacity for various computer systems. So we saw an increase from megabytes to gigabytes and eventually to terabytes in 2010. So this having more data on like a personal system, like a personal computer, increased the chances and the availabilities and opportunities for more innovation to actually come into existence. And this ramped up the whole evolution of the ecosystem. We also saw the increase of RAM, which is very fast storage medias, which the computer usually depend on for running their processes and core its core needs as well. So they are very fast storages, and usually they came very in very small capacities in megabytes. Then, but we saw them ramping up to gigabytes to improve both this processing speed as well as multitasking utility and the general speed of the operation of the computer systems. And then some innovative companies bringing new solutions to the marketplace also emerged. We saw LinkedIn come up in 2002. We saw Tableau in 2003, Tesla as well, Facebook, Hadoop, GitHub, Uber, Cargo, DeepMind, H2O. So some of the core big players we see in the AI space today were mostly founded in that period. And the fact that they came into existence brought about the kind of like the beginning of the emergence of big data, because they came up with huge innovative solutions which was adopted by the general populace of the earth very quickly. And we saw a ramp up of the amount of people using the internet, the amount of people using these services, and this translated to the amount of data being generated today. And this data is the basically the fuel and the engine behind building AI products and AI softwares. So we also saw the cloud era emerge, which took away the problematic situations of being unable to develop medium to large models on a single computer. So the cloud brought up a business a business model which offered up um, cloud infrastructure to people anywhere in the world, being giving them an opportunity to connect and utilize um, very powerful hardware to develop like an innovative solution which takes away the cost and as well as the time needed to train models, to develop models, to serve models, to generally bring models into production to the public for public use. So it cuts down the time and the effort and the money on the innovation of various products. And this actually prompted or spurred the innovation of more and more products to the industry. And we also saw business starting to move their services or their data, their core hardware off on site to the cloud because they saw it as a more efficient, more reliable, and more less costly alternative towards having on-prem services. So we saw the invention of or the releases of data processing and visualization tools that are very common today, like Tableau and Power BI. Tableau was released in 2004, and Microsoft Power BI was released in 2011. I think it came as a bundled solution with the Microsoft SQL Server that year. Open source Python libraries like SciPy, Matplotlib, ggplot, scikit-learn, pandas were also released to the public. And if you're a beginner in machine learning, you are most likely going to start out with building models using scikit-learn. It's very easy. It's easy to understand. It's an advanced framework that is built on top of like various efficient algorithms that simplify the whole machine learning building process for you, and you can end up building a model in 4 to 5 lines of code, which is very efficient, very timely, and is more prosperous towards the process, the general process of building model. um a very popular review actually came out around this period, at the end of that period, which was in 2020 in 2012, and it was titled Data Scientist, the Sexiest Job of the 21st Century. And that article actually was, at that point in time, there were not many data scientists um in the world. Many of them Like from the survey they carried out in that article, they talked about seeing a large number of PhD holders from various fields. One of the popular fields they saw was I think it was in physics as well, PhD in physics in that field. And one common knowledge, one common um feature they featured some of these data scientists had was that they had like an uncanny ability to understand, process, and draw out signals from data, which very few people had. And they also had this uncommon ability of being having enough programming experience needed to build model, and also like the technical expertise in terms of maybe statistics, mathematics, sociology, psychology, enough to understand and bring up theories and develop um, unique solutions towards business problems. So that was one of the that was the main highlights of that particular period. And after that article came out, we saw a whole lot of um, universities bringing up data science courses. We saw universities having master, both in the master level, undergraduate level, and also in PhD level. So it became almost like a buzzword to a lot of companies, a lot of investors. Many people were trying to get in on it right after this article came out. Um, so that's about that period. And then for the next period, which is from 2012 to now, the big data era. We've seen big data come into full limelight, and um, due to the huge amount of people utilizing the internet today, as well as the large amount of products we have, which have been also adopted. I think Instagram has close to 2 billion users, LinkedIn has over a billion users, WhatsApp has over 2 billion users. There are so many of these products today having a very, very large amount of database and of users. And some of these products actually come interconnected with their own ecosystems, which basically builds like a file on every of their each and every one of their users. And this brought about like the spoil of the advertising sector. So a whole lot of businesses today derive their core profits from advertisements. The advertisements they are able um to to hold based on their user base, the data they have on their users, which could be very useful to potential uh, producers who are looking to sell goods and services to customers. So this is one of the core things we have been seeing since then. We also saw the diversification and further advancement of the AI space, and AI also became better institutionalized. So it was no longer like a hip or new trendy solution. AI became integrated into various systems. We saw like smart cameras. We saw AI becoming like very, very huge in terms of the performance of mobile phones towards the picture quality of their cameras. So a huge investment was poured into computational photography, which is like almost 50% of 50% responsible for the good results we see in some of the best phone cameras in the world today. Also in the little things like I mentioned before, like text predictions, fraud detection, spam detections. So much of the innovative solutions we see today in the world has been as a result of AI maturing, um, not just in the global space, but also in people's mind as well. So more people are currently aware of artificial intelligence, though they might not really have like an in-depth understanding, but they know it exists. They know it's one of the latest and greatest tools humanity have come up with, and they are getting ready for it to become more integrated into society. So with the also huge strides have been made by various companies like DeepMind in the aspect of protein folding, Boston Dynamics in robotics, self-driving technology by Tesla and Waymo. We've also seen the development of large AI models, starting with if you look at GPT-2, GPT-2, it had like 1.5 billion parameters. The size of these models were measured mostly in parameters, which tend to take into consideration the amount of compute as well as data needed to train this model. And so, like, it involved like a very huge percentage of the data on the internet today to train a lot of these models. And currently, the biggest model is 1.75 trillion, has 1.75 trillion parameters, which is a Chinese model from the Woodao 2.0. And then we saw the rise of AI companies. A lot of AI startup came into limelight. There was a lot of investment made towards businesses and products having AI integrated into their core business model. We also saw the rise of huge educational platforms for learning programming, AI, learning programming, data analytics, data science, and a huge category of skills as well. Programs like Coursera, companies like Coursera, EdTech, DataCamp, they all came into the limelight during this period. We also saw the development of more frameworks and softwares like TensorFlow, PyTorch, Hugging Face, due to the availability of um, due to the inventions of modern day AI processing hardware. So we saw the inventions of the tensor processing units called CPU, which is like an advancement of a GPU. It's much faster than a GPU, it's much more efficient and much more localized towards AI operations. We've also seen the inventions of a wide range of AI computes, accelerated chips that are made specifically for building AI models. And this is seen in so many companies that are trying to build large models and also in cars as well. Like the Tesla vehicles, they have their own chip they build for their self-driving technology as well. So that was one of the highlights. And also we have like huge data applications coming up. We have Apache Airflow release in this period. We have Kubeflow, NVIDIA Rapid, which is like an end-to-end um, technology that has everything run on the GPU, like both from the analytics, the wrangling, the building, machine learning. Every operation is done on the GPU, so everything works like by far much faster, especially where you are dealing with very large data sets, big data. These solutions are very huge in that aspect. And then the data scientist role is still in demand today in terms of the specific positions that are available. But we've also seen the rise of small specialized job roles like machine learning engineer, machine learning researcher, AI specialist, AI engineers, also data engineer as well. Some of these job positions are on the rise today, also ML ops engineer as well. So there's a whole lot of industry of companies springing up that are building products that are most likely going to be servicing the human population in the near future. And so there's a trend moving from people building solutions from the scratch to having platforms that automate the entire process. So rather than you digging up data and working on it in the Jupyter notebook and serving the model, pushing the model to productions by like ML pipelines, you are having these systems where everything can be done on one solution, and all you have to do is just drag and drop, clicking a click-through interface that requires low to no code to operate. And this has actually led to the next phase, which is the future. So we are going to be likely to see more roles that involve less of programming and more of maintenance towards these solutions um, that have been developed, which by then will most likely be established. There's possibly going to be a rise of citizen data scientists, which are essentially people who don't code but who handle and maintain data platforms and AI platforms as the rest. I also believe the future will see the invention of more intelligent and efficient algorithms. Throughout humanity, we've been in the phases where some of our technologies they always got better as they got bigger. But after a while, we saw them start to get smaller, more efficient, faster.
like the camera system, like computers. Now we have like a phone, and if you look at like a picture of the first computer, it was very, very massive. Cameras as well. Now you're having very tiny cameras within your phone. You're having a very small computer on your wrist, and some of them on your eyes as well. So there's going to be, I feel like the direction that has been pushed towards um, more data, more compute to build these large models today are going to be center. More of this money is going to be pushed towards building more efficient and adaptable AI solutions, which would require little to no data to make very intelligent decisions. And if you think of it, that's how human beings actually operate. Like we work with very little data to available to us in terms of our experience, but we end up making very intelligent decisions that till now actually surpasses what current AI solutions can do. So that's one of the predictions I have. I also see automation as being an integral part of a lot of businesses. I see more jobs created within the AI space, and I see AI becoming more integrated into the society. And I think within the next 20 to 30 years, we're most likely going to have full self-driving capabilities. We're most likely to see the invention of probably early stage to mid stage AGI systems, which are like autonomous artificial general intelligence systems, which can match or surpass the capabilities of human beings. So that's my predictions for the future and where the landscape looks like it's going towards. Next slide, please. So there are also new areas that were previously not in existence but have currently come into place, and this has been due to the ramped up acceleration of the growth of artificial intelligence as well as its rapid integrations into systems. And now we are having sectors like governance, ethics, which looks at um, the proper management and the diligent management of various AI systems. There are various laws that have been passed on. Like I think the GDPR was passed in 2016 or 2017. I'm not really sure of the date now, but it was passed into law at that period, and it's generally governed um, the transfer of data across borders, as well as what you can do, what you can and cannot do with the data that would determine whether or not you are infringing on citizens' privacies and the the capabilities that have been extended to you by law. Um, so we've seen this come into place. We've seen debates about biases, human biases being integrated into AI systems in terms of self-recognition models, which find difficult to identify Black or people of a certain racial diversity and stuff like that generally. So these new sectors have come up as kind of like a governance board to oversee the inventions of these innovative solutions to ensure that in the future we're moving towards a more positive light set rather than adding to the already compounding issues that we face in today's society. We're also seeing new areas of applications of AI towards climate change as well, which is one of the new ones because climate change is still a very debatable um, area in to some people today, and but we're seeing a whole lot of research going towards that area, and it's becoming more of there's a lot of awareness towards the increasing impact of environmental changes in our world today. And also, we change management is also one of the new sectors governing the deployments and the development of creative AI solutions as well. Next slide, please. So to cap it all, I wanted to talk about how Nigeria has been affected by the changes in this particular landscape. So since I've joined, I've seen like a lot of budding AI communities. Actually, a lot of them are still coming up. Um, there are also communities that are also on a global scale, like Black in AI, which have been which integrates members of various nations that fall across certain race diversity towards their doors. Um, Communities like Data Science Nigeria, which has like a goal of training, I think 10 million data practitioners in the next 20 years or so. Not sure. Communities like Data AI Saturday Lagos, Ingressive for Good, pushing out scholarship and having volunteers actually empower the Nigerian public towards the to drive the adoption of AI as well as the innovation of AI in the world today. So to talk on this, the bulk of the efforts today in Nigeria towards AI have been made by private individuals and private groups, which came together with the unified goal of empowering their fellow Nigerians. So we're seeing very less of an impact or an adoption by the government, the core government and industries in the country. AI is still a very new concept to our institutions. I think as of now, there are still very few universities offering courses like um, degrees in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science in today's current world where we are having people being taught coding, programming, AI as early as high school. So it's actually a downer, and we are always it's almost like a trend of technology always coming down to us whenever is invented. It comes down to us, and there's very little innovation being made that would actually make us more self-sustained and less reliant on some of these corporations which have their headquarters outside the shores of our country. So I would applaud the efforts made by institutions, even like your BizTech as well, towards empowering Nigerians because I believe you are the change. You have to be the change you want to see in the world, and it starts from you. Like if you can change the way you act, if you are trying to make your world a better place, you have to change yourself to start with. So I would encourage the communities to keep at it, and also I would also encourage a need for local innovation. So there's a whole lot of these solutions that are being made in the world today, and so much of it has been more styled or tilted towards solving the problem in some of the parts where these solutions have been developed in, and every area, every country has their own homegrown problems, and the core goal of AI is to actually assist humans in solving problems in problem solving. So we have some more localized solutions we don't have which currently don't have any implementations or any solutions to on a general scale. Areas like language understanding, we have over 200 languages in Nigeria alone, and there's very little research made towards um, understanding the languages, which would help to like bridge diversity and bring about more trust in our society today. There's a whole lot of areas you can think of for that AI could be applied in Nigeria. Like a technology like self-driving cars, we are still very much far from it because the roads the cars operate on to start with are always in like critical conditions, and even if those technologies are imported here, they would definitely it's not the same playing ground. So they'll find a very hard time adopting in today's society. So I feel like there's a whole lot of um, problems that we can solve here in Nigeria. There's a whole lot of opportunities um, for inventing creative solutions to our own problems, either in agriculture, in education. And I've seen strives various individuals and companies have been making, and it's very applaudable. But I would also urge the governments to actually play vital roles because of the major changes to the countries are made from the top. So the earlier they actually invest in this, the better it will be for the better the lives of Nigerians, because AI is actually here to stay, and I believe it's actually one of the greatest tools humanity have actually created. Um, so That's about how Nigeria has been affected in today's. Also, I'll also mention that there has actually been like a very low amount of opportunities towards some of these areas, which falls in line with the fact that some of these courses are not offered up in schools. So many of the many of the people who end up being practitioners are self-taught. So that's kind of like the problem the institution has created, and I hope it will be resolved in the future as well. So next slide. Yeah. So in conclusion, I would like to thank I'd like to thank the organizers of this program. It's always um, it's always a good thing when you have people trying to spread knowledge and um, showcase their lessons learned to the public. I feel like it's going to be huge towards helping people that are trying to find their ways or break into certain spaces or organization. That very little motivation provided can actually go a long way towards their development. I feel like there's a whole lot of lessons to be learned from this topic in terms of the changing AI landscape. We are seeing a whole lot of adoptions in a lot of areas. We're seeing 5G coming soon to Nigeria, which is going to bring along with it more services due to the faster speed of data communications. We're also seeing like huge adoptions of foreign technologies like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and the rest. And these are most likely coming to edge out some of our local solutions. So I feel the need to improve as a nation is very, very much needed and is actually in our hands. Um, so I hope I have been able to impact one or two things to everybody listening to this program. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to provide my opinions and answers.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, so if you have any question, you can drop your question on the chat box, or you can raise your hand. I can make you a presenter. So if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box or raise your hand so I can make you a presenter. And also the recording for this section, I'll post the link our YouTube channel so you can also so the record will be made available first thing tomorrow morning. Awesome section, awesome presentation. I actually learned a lot. The whole era and everything, the way you broke it down was really, really self-explanatory itself. So if you have any question, you can just raise your hands up or drop a chat in the chat box below. Okay. So as for waiting for people's question, so I didn't give you the whole breakdown, right? Okay, awesome. Okay, that's it. Fine. That's Benny, my colleague. Um, okay, finally did. Okay. So the thing is, awesome presentation first of all. So you because I was unable to explain some certain things, right? So you being our special presenter, we usually ask our special guests two questions. So the first question will be how you started your whole data science journey, and also what advice you have for people just starting out in the field of data science. Have you got the question?
Yeah, I got the question. So
Yeah.
I actually started out. It was half by chance and half by effort. So I left my previous. I actually studied petroleum engineering at the University of Lagos, and I had
He sounded like an engineer.
yeah, I had no previous coding experience. I did no coding course. I've actually never programmed up until 2019, but I've always had an interest into programming. I almost saw like having the ability to like breaking to build very very complex solutions as being one of the top skills somebody should have. So that goal or that need to learn has always been there, but I never put it to use up until I was getting dissatisfied. I had dissatisfaction with my job. So I worked in the oil industry for 1 year plus in various sectors, in three different companies actually, but the job wasn't actually interesting to me. And on communicating with a lot of people, I've come to understand that it's more efficient and is also more fulfilling when you're doing something you enjoy.
Right.
You're doing a job you enjoy. And so I actually had to search for something I enjoyed, like for a particular job that I could do that I would enjoy. And it started out for me pinpointing that okay, I had specific skills in terms of problem solving. I was very good at problem solving, and I actually also enjoyed problem solving. And then I decided to pick up programming because that's the modern problem solving tool. I started by learning the easiest language you can, which is Python. It's very easy to
Python.
learn. It's very easy to understand. Almost like English language. So I started learning Python. I tried out back-end engineering, front-end engineering. They were not really my cup of cake, but I actually joined. I was invited to join a cohort by AI Saturday Lagos in 2020 by one of my friends who was the organizer. And I attended the cohort. It was a 16-week Saturday program. So we had lectures every Saturday. Back then, it was before the pandemic started, and it actually broke into the period the pandemic came. So we started out with physical lectures. We're having 5 hours lectures every Saturday in Unilag in one of our halls, and it was very, very fun. It was very informative. I learned a lot. There was a whole lot of collaboration of people trying to learn. So I was able to integrate a lot of the knowledge I started learning from Python into the solutions and apply myself in terms of like a problem solving thinking mentality. And I saw the whole potential the field had towards becoming an expert in what I was after, which was problem solving. And that was how it all started. And from there, I finished from there. I also took my hand like in a lot of places. I did hackathons. I was part of the data science boot camp for that year, data science Nigeria boot camp.
Okay.
I did an internship that year as well, like a 6 month internship. It wasn't more of a regular internship. It was more of a learning internship, which
Internship.
was open to the public, and it was hosted by Hamway. That's actually where I met Benny. So we worked in teams, we learned a lot, we worked on real projects, and we actually presented projects to some of the stakeholders of the company. So it was a very, very 2020 was actually the period I clicked into it all, and I actually I looked at everything, and I saw that with the knowledge I learned, I can actually start out on my own to like work either as a freelancer or possibly even get a job in the area of data science. So that was kind of how I got started.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Your story is actually fun. Okay. Okay. So the last question will be, what advice do you have for people just starting out in the field of data science, or just data in general?
Okay, so I think the advice I'll give is to because there's a whole lot of media out there and resources for people to get started. And to be honest, it was one of the problems I faced starting out due to the huge volume of books, courses that were out there back then, and now it's actually a whole lot more. Knowing where to start from is kind of the biggest issue most people face. So I'll tell them to start out by learning Python. First of all, start learning Python and understand the basics of a object-oriented programming language. And then from Python, also learn some of the most common tools that are in application in terms of data analytics today, which is like Excel, if you can, Power
SQL.
BI as well. Yeah, also SQL too will be very useful because everything goes in hand with uh, the job, regardless of which job role you are going to most likely work in. So learning Python, Excel, Power BI, as well as SQL if you can. Those are the main points you should start out with. Then once you start with that and you build your foundation in those areas, you can actually apply yourself in a wide range of areas like ML ops, data science, data analytics, data mining, a whole lot of areas. But having that as the core is very, very much like a very strong background of that area. It's very, very much important. From there, you can start off. And then in terms of like maybe job applications, I would advise you to go for any internship you can. There are some internship out there today which are offering no pay um, for you to learn. And honestly, I don't see the point in that, and I feel like it's as a result of the current situation of the country where a huge lot of people are looking for jobs, and it's actually not acceptable. But any opportunities you can learn which won't be to your own detriment, like for instance, the internship I did was um like a remote internship. I worked from home. It was in my resources. I didn't spend any money. I made use of my computer. So it was a pure learning experience for me. So if you're opportune to see an internship position as a data analyst, a data engineer, a data scientist, it doesn't matter which, you can just start from there, and then you see yourself building up your skills, ramping up, and any area you will now try to break into, it would be more easier for you to do that. But the practical experience is actually what's the most important, and you can't get that experience without actually having some foundational skill set, which is those programming languages and those frameworks that are being used now. But once you have that foundational knowledge and you have some practical experience, then you can get like offers to some of the big companies. You can get more stable offers. You can get full-time offers as well. So starting out where you might find yourself would definitely differ from one person to another. Everybody has the challenges they face through, whether it's financial or time wise, or even money wise, or wherever it is. There are ways that you can, whatever option is closer to you, try to apply yourself towards it. But just make sure you do something and try and stay consistent towards learning and improving yourself, and you see yourself very far eventually.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, so I have my own questions. My own question for just one actually. Um, okay, so I actually started. So mine is just more like a question. Like I think this question is for everyone, most people in the data field, right? Because of most people I've met in data field also have the same issue. So they went to they actually cheated, right? So for me now, I started as I did software, I did web development. It wasn't my thing, the way you were saying. I also did engineering too. I did robotics. Robotics was my thing, but it was too expensive. But what I'm actually driving out now is for data science, right? Data science is very popular in Africa, it's becoming a big trend. But the thing is that there is not enough, we can't compare. Will you compare, will you advise someone to go into data science now, or should person should go into data analytics in terms of job opportunities? Because I noticed, one thing I noticed when I was doing my NYC, I then later changed career into data analytics and DE, was most jobs were in Nigeria actually were purely data analysts. But for the data scientists now, right, it's not now more, it's no longer you writing Python codes anymore. It's more like you're building a solution, you're building a product. So one thing I noticed about the data science field was people that actually did well with data science. They actually had skill in web development, in things like Flask, in things like Sublime Text, in things like I said Sublime, in things like Streamlight, all those deployment tools. So we advise someone that's going to data science to also learn web development or software development to integrate both together.
Yeah, so from that's actually a very good question, because like I said, everything depends on where you find yourself and what opportunity you have that is closer to you or available to you. But I would say wherever you can start from, like it's just always the good play a good time to start is now, and like the important thing is to actually just get started. And software, like you said, is actually very true of people working as data scientists in Nigeria. Some of them have master's degrees, some of them have extensive programming knowledge. And a data scientist is typically somebody that can code more than like a more academic tilted person, but also has like an understanding of some of the core algorithms like linear algebra, um, the core machine learning algorithm, like having that in-depth understanding, the maths and the stats background for them to be able to innovate in those areas, but also having that programming experience. So software engineering here in Nigeria, you might have to do like the complete stack, which is probably full stack, which is not really common in the global space. But here in Nigeria, you might have to do full stack. So having a background in software engineering can be very, 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 very huge, because a whole lot of the software engineering principles are applied in data science, both in terms of version control, um, code testing, like the whole process is the entire way a model is being pushed to production is also like a core software engineering um, um, governed methodology. So I feel like it's if it's software engineering you can get, that's very fine. Most of the jobs that are available today are also like data analyst roles.
that can be easier for you to move to data science, if not in the country but outside, because of the fact that you have that experience on ground with data analytics, and you also have that programming skill, which is enough to push you towards that direction. And software engineering as well, you can easily move from software engineering to data science. All you need is just like an understanding of the maths, because you already have the programming down. The programming in data science is actually not difficult, to be honest. So it's lightweight programming for hardcore software engineers. And when you have that software engineering background, you'll be more suited towards areas like data engineering. You can move easily towards even the ML ops side of things, where you have to build pipelines and you have to deploy this model into production. Most of those are the areas that have the uh, heavy coding, that like the heavy coding uh, requirements for you. So those areas are actually very nice areas to bring in. I mentioned machine learning engineers and
Yeah.
ML as one of the rising stuff. So the, if you can start from software engineering, great. If you can start from data science, great. But as long as it's tech related, as long as it's programming related, anyway, it's actually a good place to start. From gaining an experience in that area would always be useful. But some people always say any knowledge is no knowledge is a waste, but they tend to forget the core principle behind that. No knowledge is actually not a waste, but the time you spend learning that knowledge can be a waste if you don't apply it. So if you learn something and you find yourself not applying it, that time you took to learn that particular skill set becomes a waste because you didn't apply it. So it's always necessary for you to learn in areas that you can actually apply, and you can apply from software engineering, you can apply from data analytics. So yeah, whatever position you find that is available to you, you can start up. The best option would be to start up with there and move from there. But if you have the luxury of time on your hands, maybe you're in school, you're still in school, you're doing your NYC service, yeah, then you can actually use that time to build your skills, work on a lot of projects that you can post on social media to um, um, give yourself some publicity and awareness in the general space. And yeah, you can probably get like internships or opportunities with huge companies. I've seen a lot of people go through that route, but time is a very huge factor in that area. But if you have less time, start from somewhere and move to the area you're interested in.
Awesome, 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 awesome. I've also dropped your LinkedIn account. So for anyone else to connect with our special guest, you can also connect with him on LinkedIn. So I'll copy it again, I'll paste it again. So for anyone else to connect with him on LinkedIn, right? So I will share
Yeah.
my screen to talk about. So we're having another section in less than an hour time. So we're having Ahmed Kodra. He's the founder of Novel Pro, one of the services used by Power BI developers right now. So Novel Pro gives you, he's basically going to talk about Novel Pro and also the advantage of it for you having a Novel Pro account, because it's more like a portfolio for BI developers. So for some of you that might be interested, the session is coming up by 6 p.m. That's less than an hour time. So I'll just copy the link and I'll paste it here. So for some of you that might be interested, you can join us by 6 p.m. We'll be having Ahmed. He's coming all the way from Dubai to take us on the topic. Is a very important topic. That's importance of professional branding and how Novel Pro can help you. So the concept of Novel Pro is just for portfolio. So you're having an online portfolio around is social media. So it's just like Tableau. If you most of you that already use Tableau, you know Tableau has its own social media network. So that's the idea for Novel Pro. So Novel Pro is supported by Microsoft. So that's Microsoft Power BI. So if you're a Power BI developer, you can always push your dashboard or your projects on Novel Pro social media network, and you can from there get job internship. You can use it as a portfolio. You can write a blog. You can market so many things. I've actually written an article around it. So he's going to come and talk about it today, and it's going to be awesome. So again, Chizuru, thank you very much. Actually, God, I'm so sorry, but thank you very much for honoring our invitation, and also we hope to invite you again for future section. So, and for everyone that came, thank you so much for coming. And you, for some of you that might be interested, join us by 6 p.m. That's an hour from now. And for others, have a lovely week ahead. Bye, guys. So stop recording.
Yeah,
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you. Yeah.